Today we have another question.
Oh, wow. That was shocking.
Yes, looks like this came in an email by...
They probably sent it us at totl@abyssheadphones.com.
Probably. That's where I would have sent it.
That's where I send my questions.
Oh, you send them there?
Yeah.
Because then the guy that has the printer that prints these questions, that's where he hangs out and looks for them.
Oh, yeah? Just all day?
Yeah, TOTL.
Oh,
yeah.
maybe there's just a network printer. It's just
Next
as
to
they
a
come
water
in, it just
cooler.
prints them.
Yeah, we could set that up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, more questions.
there's
are
so
rolling
many
in.
coming
Yeah,
in.
just rolling in. Big
And
stack.
a live cam so you could see him printing out.
Yeah. Hey, Abyss fam, as in family.
Oh.
While watching phone teardown videos, I discovered that many premium phones have these tiny styrofoam balls packed inside the loudspeaker housing. The guy in the video said that they make the speakers sound bigger than their size, which
Sounds like jerry.
God knows they could help. They could need that. Can you break it down for us? What's the specific effect of these on speaker sound? If it's good, can this technology be used in headphones or IMs? Love your work. Really appreciate you taking up my question. Cheers. Approve. So,
It's like this.
yeah, it's like that, except I think they're tinier than that.
Oh yeah. Well, this is not to scale.
Yeah, but you could use this, like a full-size speaker. I don't see why
Sure.
not. Yeah, that would work. It's absorptive.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming what they're doing is, we've never played with these tiny balls, but we've caught the same thing in videos too and pondered the question ourselves. What are those?
It's like control rods in a nuclear reactor.
Yeah,
Is it?
Yeah, it's the same thing.
I don't know if it's exactly like that.
Well, it's
Think
not exactly. It's
Is it
not
absorbing
exactly.
gamma rays
It's not exactly like
or whatever
that.
rays? Alpha, beta.
In very broad strokes.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah.
Similar functionality.
Yeah,
Yeah, so the point is when you have a single driver,
maybe it's a bingo machine. Where the ball comes out
Yeah.
and you get a number.
There's
it's
little
a lotto.
numbers on all those.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like B6.
They're all numbered.
Yeah, probably no one ever looked. I bet you they are.
Yeah,
that
you
would
might be
cool.
right.
Microscope. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll have to look.
Yeah, like
Gotta take your
Apple.
phone
Maybe
apart.
in the Apple product, it might say APPLE on them. 5 balls in
Okay.
a speaker. Yeah.
typically the problem with small enclosures, this is the thing with anything, headphones, anything that's small, the smaller it is relative to the amount of air it's moving, so the size of the driver more or less, the harder it is to deal with the back wave, the audio that comes off the back of the driver.
And we kind of covered this in a video.
Yeah, we did talk about it.
We talked
That-
about it a bit.
Yeah, it was with the one about metamaterials we did. We talked about a lot about that,
Yep.
about the backwave situation. So reference that so we don't have to repeat it. But
Yeah, so basically, when you have a headphone, a driver of any kind, you hear the audio coming out the one side of the driver. It's also coming out the other side. And the predicament there is the same effect that works in noise-canceling headphones, which is basically just sending out the exact same thing, but out of phase, misaligned. So it's arriving at a different time. That effect causes your sounds to cancel out inside an enclosure as well. Among other things, causes distortion and other issues. But primarily, if you have a really small enclosure, the driver's trying to move, these sound waves are bouncing around inside of the enclosure and they're hitting the driver again.
bing, bing,
And they're
bing.
being re-radiated,
That's annoying me.
but at the wrong time. Right? Because
Right.
there's a latency of bouncing around in that enclosure.
Is that kind of like a trampoline?
It's like a trampoline,
Yeah.
kind of.
So you would put balls under your trampoline
No, on top,
on top.
and then they come back down.
Oh, that'd be cool.
It's like a trampoline, but when you're jumping on the trampoline, you're not jumping in sync with whatever the springs, the natural mechanics of the trampoline are doing.
Actually, don't they have those kiddie things now? Remember they had with all those round balls in it? You go in and kids get to
Ball pit?
swim through the balls. Yeah.
Well, it's kind
It's
of
like that. Those
It's
are
like
probably
that.
all shut down
That's a-
because of
yeah.
Rona.
Yeah.
Oh, is it? Yeah. That's a giant version of that.
Yes.
Yeah, where the balls would absorb the back wave.
Well, I guess it'd be more
You know?
multiple people jumping on a trampoline.
Yeah.
One guy, he's like what it's supposed to be, and then everybody else is like the back wave hitting the front, and screwing up the motion.
Yeah, so the trampoline is the speaker.
Yeah.
And then you put that ball thing full of big round balls underneath it, and then that would absorb the what's coming off the backside of the trampoline.
It would have to be sealed.
Kind of.
Trampoline's a bad example.
We didn't really go over the whole point,
Then you
though.
put an above ground pool around the whole thing as an enclosure.
Above ground pool.
Yeah, so that now you got a case for it. You have steel around.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Well, that's a giant
we're using
example.
outdoor products to build a giant
Yeah.
speaker to show you what this is.
You ever go on
doing.
a swing?
Yeah.
It's like that.
Yeah.
It's like a
So
swing.
you swing your legs, you move your body at the wrong time, you don't add to the energy that you're swinging with, right?
Yeah.
You don't add to
You could
the
actually
duration
slow
of your
down
swing.
if you
You
wanted
could slow
to.
yourself down.
Yeah.
It's basically like that, right? If the sound waves come back at the wrong time, it screws everything up. It cancels out what you're trying to do.
So now the question, I think, was more or less, can you do this with headphones? And the answer
Well,
is sure.
what do they do, basically?
Well,
What is
The
right.
idea is
adding
it
them.
slows it down and it dissipates the energy
Yeah.
over time.
Right.
You put energy into shaking these
And then
around.
the second question is, can it be used in headphones or IEMs? Which is sure, it can.
Yes.
The only trick is, how do you hold the balls in place? They can't rattle around.
Well, they could. It would just
know.
rattle around it.
Yeah, I
You'd hear
guess.
them.
So you got to have really quiet balls.
Oh, quiet balls.
Yeah, which is what they do in the phone.
Well, you pack them really tight.
Yeah, I mean the phone. I'm sure that those
Well,
balls
really
move around,
tight.
but they're so tiny. They're not making enough noise to hear. You know, but they got it. They're in there. They have to be loose.
Somewhat loose.
Yeah. Otherwise they wouldn't work. I think they have to be kind of loose.
Well, it can't just be a solid brick.
Depends on what they're trying to do.
I
It's true.
suppose.
It's true.
Yeah. Depends on what frequency they want them to resonate at,
Yeah.
so that they absorb that sound. If they're resonating, that means they're vibrating and they're absorbing the sound that's coming at them. So
Right.
yeah, but bottom line is that sure you could do it, but you know, and who's to say that we won't one day? But bottom line is the problem is containing them in a headphone application and getting the right size balls and the right material to deal with the absorption, to set up the absorption characteristics that you.
It's a tuned
Want.
system. It's all
Yeah.
carefully tuned. And the problem with
It's
that
tricky.
is you usually can't tune something so it's perfect everywhere. That's really the benefit of like the metamaterials video that we talked about.
Yeah.
That kind of is closer to that. It's a bunch of systems put together that are tuned for very specific frequencies that combined give you the desired effect over a broad
More
spectrum.
wide-banded
Yeah.
effect, right?
But to do this for the entire audio spectrum that you could hear is very difficult to do in a headphone space.
Yeah, with one thing.
Right.
Right.
So people tend to do things that are the most gross offenders, that cause the most issues. They try to handle those first. You know, they know in this driver enclosure design, they have most of an issue around these frequency ranges, and they try to tune those away. They try to minimize the issues inside the enclosure for those frequencies.
I remember back like probably over 20 years ago, I don't even know if it's still around, but there was a company called Gallo Acoustics. Anthony Gallo was the owner out of New York. And anyway, they made the ball-shaped speakers. They were basically aluminum spheres.
Little sphere.
Yeah, and they put a little speaker in the front of it, and so it was sealed. They were sealed. They were sealed systems, and you'd have a big ball for the bass driver and a smaller for mid, and on the bigger ones. And then they ultimately, I think they made just single ones too that just actually test
They're,
out speakers.
they will know they're for like surround sound and stuff.
Yeah. So, but anyway, I remember doing a CES show with Anthony, probably 1998 or something like that, and he was telling me about this material he found to put inside the ball that acted just like that as an absorber and dramatically improved the bass impact of the speaker, because you're dealing with a tiny driver, 4 or 5 inch driver, right, inside a 8 or 10 or 12 inch diameter ball of aluminum, sealed, spun ball. So, again, same thing. The back wave is huge. And so what do you stuff it with? And his miracle stuff that worked was actually strips of polyethylene that they cut up. It's kind of like, it was like a
Plastic bag.
4 mil or 5 mil, or I don't know what the thickness was. Yeah, that was flat plastic. They cut it into thin strips and stuffed it in there. And so it just kind of sat flat. And you look at it and you go, "How the fuck is this doing anything?" I shouldn't swear. You look at it and you go, "How is this doing anything in this speaker?" You wouldn't think it would work, but he said it was the best shit he's found to put inside that particular speaker, that particular application. So you never know. You got to really play. When it comes down to it, you got to play with all kinds of materials, shapes, sizes,
quantity.
thicknesses.
Well, because I remember I've opened those.
Yeah.
And they weren't like filled. It was
No.
like half full or
Yeah,
something.
it kind of was layered in there, just sat in there.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, because it was a ball shape, obviously you could kind of picture sound just bouncing around in there, right?
Yeah.
And with nowhere to go, and which was the beauty of it in one respect, because you didn't set up any kind of standing
it
wave,
was
so
a
to
ball.
speak, in the ball.
So
Yeah,
that
it's
was
a ball.
good.
But bottom line is, you needed for that sound somewhere. The back wave had to go somewhere, and it turned out that thin strips of polyethylene worked out wonders. So you never know what'll work, and it was quiet too. It didn't rattle like a bunch of balls would, So
Yeah.
So anyway, I don't know, just a backstory. So these things, the materials like that have been used, and I think like in the case of a tiny little speaker, like what's the size of the speakers in a phone?
They're tiny.
Yeah, tiny.
2 millimeters, maybe. Right?
Well, a little bit better than
Yeah.
that. I don't know.
So
Like 6 millimeter
depends
or
on the
something.
phone.
there's just not a lot there. There's not a lot of acoustic backwave to absorb,
Right.
but the little bit that you can absorb can probably help a lot.
Well, I think this is another case of dealing with what you can, how you can best. So looking at the entire thing as a system. And the low frequencies are probably the hardest to deal with any other way. The other stuff, they could probably do a lot with EQ and optimizations and software. But the lows are probably the primary target. If you want, now on a phone speaker, low frequencies here, they're not 10 hertz. We're talking more in like the hundreds of hertz or even kilohertz range to some extent. But if you remember back in the days, the early smartphones, early portable devices, even laptops, the speakers were absolutely horrific.
Yeah, they
awful compared to where they are
right.
now.
Listening to an old style like telephone, they were only good for like a certain range of voice.
You didn't get anything below a couple kilohertz, right? It was just terrible.
Yeah.
Well, it was multiple things. I mean, like amps have gotten a lot better. And like efficient, small, compact amps, they're higher power now. That helped out a lot. Because now, like portable stuff has watts.
Not only that, they push the crap out of these speakers. They got the
Yeah.
DSP that's just like they ride the limits of the speaker driver, right? They're just like
Well, a lot of portable speakers now, they measure the temperature of the driver. So they know when it's overheating, or
It'll
they've
throttle down.
programmed in the characteristics, the thermal characteristics of this driver.
Right.
So they know how hard it could be pushed for how
For how
long.
long,
And they
yeah.
know with this exact music, the content you're playing, they estimate the heating
Yeah.
of the driver. And then they could pull power
Continuously.
back continuously. And they'll
Yeah.
pull power back if they assume it's getting too hot,
so it's
or
really
if they measure
smart.
it getting too hot.
it's I don't even know if the subs. I know subwoofers do that too with servo
Modern
and
ones
stuff.
do, yeah.
But I don't know how they take it to that degree where they're actually doing temperature. They probably do.
Like HomePod does that.
Does
That's
it?
why I could run like for how small it is.
Yeah.
And it could produce as much bass as it does.
Right.
Because they are running that thing
So
at the limit.
they scaled up the phone speaker tech into a little bit bigger.
Yeah, it runs it right on
a little
the
bit
edge.
bigger
Yeah.
speaker. Yeah.
Which
Push
it works fine.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. They know what it can take.
Right.
Oh, speaking of which, I just thought of those Gallo ball speakers.
Yeah.
They were in about the same time that you were talking about, like 1998. They were in the first Austin Powers movie.
Oh, were they?
Yeah, I think they were yellow. They're on like little like curved stands with little balls.
Oh yeah.
Austin Powers.
I was just watching that movie. It was just on the other night.
Hmm.
Yeah, with Mini Me.
No,
Mini-Me?
I think
Yeah.
it was the first one. Well,
Was it?
was he in the first one?
I
don't
think
know.
so. Yeah, maybe it wasn't the first one. Maybe that was the second one.
Yeah, but I think they
It was
were
the
in
one where they
fir-
went back in time. Was that the second one?
third
I
one.
don't know. Oh, geez, then it wasn't even close.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, I lose track of it. You always catch these
Wait,
movies.
I think, or maybe it was the first. Did they go back in time twice?
I don't know.
know.
I always catch them in the middle.
Yeah,
I
it's
get
been a
like
while.
I watch
I don't
like
know.
10 minutes of it, and it's like, okay, I had enough of that. I've seen it before. But
Either way, I
Yeah.
think it was the first one.
yeah,
And the Gallo
was the first one with Fat Bastard?
maybe.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't
They're all
remember that.
jumbled together.
Yeah, right.
I haven't seen him
I can't
in
track
a
it
long
either.
time.
But yeah, good for Anthony. Yeah.
Did we answer the question?
I think we did. I think we thoroughly answered the question, and then some as usual. We answered it exuberantly.
Yeah.
Yes. Well,
Is-
maybe
is
not
that-
so
I don't know if
exuberantly.
that's the right word.
Yeah, maybe not. Maybe
So
not.
in summary,
Yeah.
yes, this technology could be used in IEMs and headphones, and it probably is. There's probably someone using something like that. There certainly are people using similar design methodologies using damping materials. Most
Foams.
closed backs are using foams and stuff.
Yeah.
Same concept, different implementation, different desired characteristics, right? It just depends on your tuning, your driver, and what you want to get out of it, and what's the biggest challenge for you that you need to solve spectrumly in the various range of frequencies you want to get out of this. Which one is posing much of a challenge to you? And you try to eliminate that as best you can with the resources you have available. And there was,
for most people, this is all boring stuff. You know what I mean? In the end, all people care about is how does it sound? You know?
Yeah.
Our job is to deal with this kind of stuff. But I guess some people are interested. I get it. It is interesting stuff. When I first saw the little balls, too, I was curious. I'm like, oh, what are they doing with that? I'm surprised that's actually going to do anything in that tiny structure.
Well, they're doing it for a reason.
Yeah, but there's no question.
well,
right.
it's cool
Yeah.
to see it in a consumer product.
Yeah.
Because this is the kind of stuff you would normally see 20 years ago in boutique products. And now it's entering the consumer space. So obviously there's either enough demand for better sound or it's cheap enough
Yeah.
that they're starting to do it more and more now. It's,
Well, one thing's for sure: phones are getting louder and louder and sounding better and better
Yeah.
every generation. So
Yeah.
they need to squeak. I mean, and they're getting smaller is the problem.
Right.
So they need to do something, because everything they can to squeak all the volume they can out of these small little devices.
And that reminds me of something which most people probably either are or are not aware of, but probably not. They don't think about is that Apple, being the company they are, have hired people out of the high-end 2-channel industry, guys that were in the know.
Yeah.
So they're pricking their brain for all these details in order to better improve the sound quality every step of the way going forward. And some of these guys are old school tweakers. They just know, and they just got to dumb it down.
To do.
Yeah, exactly. So and it's most engineers wouldn't even think about it because it's not in a book anywhere. And these guys go, hey, just stick a couple little balls in there, we're good.
I was like, I didn't even think of that.
It's like, oh, wait a minute.
It's like, that's a cheap solution to this problem.
Yeah, they just scaled down something they probably tried years ago when they were designing speakers or something. So the reality of it is I know for a fact that Apple has people on board that have come from the high-end industry and for obvious reasons. And, hey, that's great. That's why things keep sounding better. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Well, if you listen to your phone, you're never thinking, this thing sounds great, out of its speakers.
Yeah.
But go back a few generations
Yeah, right.
and
Yeah, they were
compare it
bad.
side by side.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
This is a lot better.
This is one of those classic cases of everybody expects things to just naturally advance and get better as time goes on, but it only happens if a lot of people that are really smart put a lot of effort into it. And with silicon, with processors, things like that, it's more clear how to do that. But with mechanical things, the limits, I think, are reached a little bit earlier than they are with other things. It's hard to make a speaker the same size that's twice as loud. That sounds way better.
Yeah, you
it's
have
very
physical
difficult.
limitations.
Physical limitations. So now they're just basically, due to demand, to try to compete with other products, everyone's just trying to do what they can to do all these little tweaky mods to improve the performance. Because it's expected.
At least
from
they never
consumers.
tried putting a flame speaker in a phone. That probably wouldn't work out.
Yeah,
too
those
good.
don't sound very good. That would be interesting.
You need a
if that worked
butane
better.
source. And
Yeah.
You got to fill my phone up again with butane.
it would be a good hand warmer in the winter, maybe.
That's a feature.
Yeah. I still get, every once in a while, I get a customer call me, oh, did you ever, I used to own one of those speakers. I'm like, Jesus, did you burn the house down with it? It's like scary.
Yeah.
They didn't sound too good.
Yeah.
It's like, I can't imagine why. Running electricity through a flame and modulating the flame, and the flame's actually moving air molecules. Kind of strange. But hey, talk about
It's a unique way to do
different
it.
ways of doing things.
Thinking out of the side of the box on that one.
Sure as hell is, yeah. Sounds like something Elon would do.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm surprised they don't make change the rocket sound by running electricity through the flame through the flame. You could, you could tune. You could modulate it any way you want. You could,
they wouldn't want to add more stuff. To
maybe
make
you could
it
play
heavier.
like a Disney song through it or something from a movie.
Well, actually, they would want to cancel sound.
Yeah.
It's like somehow make it quieter.
There you go.
Loud as hell.
Yeah. No, I think you'd want to actually keep it loud. Just make it say something.
Well, maybe initially.
like woohoo or something. Like that'd be pretty cool if you could have modulated a bit. Okay, we better go.
You don't want to do that.
I think it's time we stop talking.
You don't want to
Yes.
do that.
Yeah, I think the day's over for the movies.
The-
Movie time's over.
The videos?
The video time's over. Yeah.
Yeah.
Popcorn's gone.
Well, if you like that video, give us a thumbs up. If you have any questions, you can email us at totl@abizheadphones.com. And thanks for watching.
Take care, everyone.